in English, which is pretty darn cool. And then he realizes he spoke, and he gets really angry because he was working so hard and he was pretending not to be able to speak for days just to piss him off. So he went absolutely ballistic and started chasing after him and trying to kill him again. Obviously, they didn't trust him and didn't, because they didn't see what happened. They were further back from the group. They thought that it was the monkey's fault. And the monkey accidentally, when he's trying to throw a rock at him, throws a rock at a beehive, and the bees start chasing after everyone. They have this big race, and they get into a mine cart inside a cave, and all kinds of shenanigans happen. And the bird and the monkey argues with the mother. The mother's like, "You betrayed us again. You said you were going to be good and change." And he said, he talked. And then the bird talks, and he says, "Look, see, he talks." And so then they feel like the bird's betrayed them as well. And there's that whole argument while they're in the action scene. So there's not much time to talk about it, which is a great way of doing it. And they did it very well in this movie. And then everyone manages to jump off, except for the monkey and the bird. And the bird gets his legs stuck. The parrot gets his legs stuck. So he said, so after a while, the monkey starts laughing at him. He's like, "Oh, you're in trouble now. And like I'm not going to save you." And he goes, "Oh, you little bastard," kind of thing. And then after a while, they sort of run out of time, and they go, "Okay, there's barely any time. You need to jump. You need to jump and get out of this thing, because the thing's about to go off the rail and it's going to fall in a deadly place." Right? And in the end, the monkey decides to save him. He takes a very soft grip and he rescues him. And they both end up alive at the end. And he then, obviously the parrot feels really pleased, and he's like, and he basically apologises because he feels really bad because he saved him even though he was such an asshole to him. And the monkey says, "You know, after all this time of trying to plot and kill you for days, the thing that made me happiest was rescuing you." And it was such a sweet moment. That was done really well. Even in the English one, it was done well. Like I said, the emotional moments are good. So that was really sweet. And then the bees go away, and they join back together, and they continue on their quest over to Delhi on the trains and things. When they try to get on the train, there's one thing where they try and get on the train, and the baby one. Yeah, it's a bit weird because earlier on in the movie, the mother goes with them to Delhi so that the child won't want to, which is very irresponsible because it's saying, "I want to keep my child safe. I better leave him alone with no parents." But she does that, and the kid ends up following after them anyway, so then he has to come with them, and that almost gets them discovered. But that happened earlier on, I missed that. So after all this has happened, they finally get to Delhi after all this trip. And then they start talking to each other. They're like, "Do you have a plan?" And they're like, "No, we have no plan." Oh my god. And then while they're in the middle of this truck, in the middle of the city, the mother goes, "I've got an idea," and shoves them all out into the road and put them in incredible danger. Blooming genius, woman, genius. So she kicks them off, and they all end up in the middle of the road, chased by humans and guns aimed at their faces. Then the bird starts to act and sing, and for a while he sings about the peace and stuff, but everyone's laughing at him. And the other ones are like, "Why are they laughing at us? What are you telling them?" And he goes, No, give me a sec, I'm warming them up. You have to trust me." So then he does that, and they start saying the peace talk about nature and stuff. He said, I like the way he does it. First he sings to get them excited. Then he says, I've got something to say. Tell the president to come here and I'll tell you." So they get the president to come over, and when the president's there, he threatens them. Then they start aiming the guns, and then he says, "You know how it feels to be afraid?" And he goes into it that way, and I love the way that's done. Really beating them down. It's like a very good way of representing this moral, even though obviously there are a lot of other messed up morals, such as child beating, sexism, guns, things which should not be in a kids' movie. Oh, also something which I've missed, when they were on a train to Delhi earlier in the movie, when he was still trying to kill the bird, he tried to get the guns out, but then thought the noise would wake up the bear, and the bear would attack him. And he has these visions in his head, imagination of the bear attacking him. And then one of the things, he grabs his balls and kills the monkey by his balls, which is pretty damn weird and inappropriate. And I thought, is that edited? But no, it isn't. That's exactly the way it was in the original. I'm like, okay. So there was that, and he gets his knife out to kill him, so it's silent, and he just misses the opportunity to kill him. And they didn't quite believe him because he came up with a good excuse that the bird was lying or something like that. So, they didn't have time to think about it, basically. But I just wanted to tell you about the monkey ball grabbing. I wonder what that's the idea for the game, monkey ball. Monkey balls! So I'm just thinking of the image of monkey balls. It's the way the bear just goes. He grabs him with the head with one arm, and then he gets the hand, and he goes, he kills him for grabbing his balls. Oh, it's so funny. I'll show you the clip. It's pretty damn funny. But, like I said, they finally get to Delhi, and he has the emotional talk, and then the president finally says, yes, I agree with it, and they change everything, and everything's happy and hunky-dory, and the scene pans out without very much explanation of what happened. Some of it's cut out from the original, but even in the original, it's summed up pretty quick. They basically sign a waiver saying there's going to be a bit more wildlife protection, and they sit in the wildlife and they say the father's spirit is next to them, and they go, oh, it's very proud. Also there's I've forgotten a massive part of the movie. I'm an idiot. A really emotional and important part of the movie, my favourite part, really emotional. There's a part where they find another area, and I think it was just after the monkey and the parrot became friends, yes. And they were a bit drunk on some fermented fruits or something. I don't know what. They got a bit drunk on coconut milk or something. It was a weird transition where there was a bunch of snapshots of them doing things. I'm not particularly partial to montages. I don't really like montages unless they're done in the right way, because they're just a waste of time, really. It's rather show than fake it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, there is that. But the montage does come a bit out of nowhere, and it doesn't really need it. So it's a bit funny. It's a bit waste of time, a way to quickly go over things. But there was that montage of them becoming friends and being friends with each other, because they couldn't afford to do that, because that was only part of the movie and not the whole point of the movie. Which really, it should have been the whole point of the movie, because usually there's one movie of that and there's one movie of the environment. You don't usually mix both in, because there's too much story at once. And I think that's the kind of problem that they had. They had too many different plots going on at the same time, so they kind of rushed a bit, which is one of the main problems with cheap movies. Too many people in the design team or director's team have really good ideas they want to do, and they end up splicing them all together into a weird mix that doesn't quite make enough sense and sum up all the loose ends. But this movie did actually sum up the loose ends it had pretty decently, which is surprising. So it was not that bad. It wasn't a bad job of it. But they did become friends and everything, and the monkey was trying to get water because he was drunk. He's trying to get some water to sober himself, and he sees a tiger and gets afraid. But the tiger is more afraid of him. And he says, I'm a cat, meow, meow. And he says I've forgotten how to be a tiger because I wanted to be a cat. Because I thought if I was a cat, they wouldn't try to kill me. That was really sad. He actually says that in the English one. And the mother leopard listens, and he says, "They destroyed my forest as well. I'm one of the only tigers left." And he says, I may be acting like a coward. You may think I'm a coward, and yes, I am a coward, but at least my head's on my shoulders." It's like, oh, it's really sad moral there. Really depressing. And, really a parental guidance for this movie. If you're going to show it to kids, I wouldn't show it to your kid, to be honest. If you're going to show this game to a kid, you might as well give them GTA. He's got so much stuff in it. That's really wrong. So, this is really depressing, and she gets really, the leopard gets really upset, because she says, "These people are monsters, look what they've done, and I'm putting all my friends in danger, even and looks over to like, I don't want it to happen to," and he looks at her son, and she goes, because it's like, yeah, she doesn't want her son to die, because her father's already dead, and she's still grieving him, and I like the way that keeps on being brought back, instead of it just being forgotten. That's really nice. And the child says, "No, the father's here, he's talking, he's here, I can see him, he's talking to us." And the mother goes, "No, stop it, let him go, I can't hear you say these things." And she gets really upset, and then the bear actually pretends to see him. He goes, "Yes, I do see him. You know where I see him? I see him in your child, in this monkey, in this parrot. I see him in all of us animals. He is with us all the time." And he says this, and he says, "That's where he is." And he explains it, and it's really sweet. And then after she sort of realizes this, all of them finally see his spirit, and she finally lets her husband go and stops grieving for him, which is really sweet. So they had to go through that before they got to the town. So that's a really nice scene. There's another scene where there's a rhyming bat that tells them where to go through a weird montage where they're shown as a cardboard silhouette thing. And usually they do this to show off a different style of animation, except most of this isn't animated, it's just storyboard pictures powerpointed with a cardboard cutout of the characters on the front. And they're not like running in the silhouette like they're supposed to be, then, because they were silhouetted on the front. They were just sliding along in the running position. And the thing that was so funny about this that my brother mentioned is that later on in the movie there's another scene where they're actually animated running inside the silhouette. So it's like, why didn't you use that in the earlier part where it was relevant? So my brother went mental about that, which is pretty funny. So there were quite a few animation errors which are a bit weird.
Keep right on going till you see a river flowing. Happy river, fresh and flashing through a valley brightly dashing. Oh, no, on second thought, a happy river there is not. Oh, yes, there used to be. But then came humanity. They filled the river with funk and slop, killed it with chemicals, goop and glop. As a matter of fact, it'd be much truer to say that river is now a sewer. But not to fret, carry on as planned, and soon you'll reach the desert sands. An untouched world, rock and dune, as grand and pure as the lovely moon. Oh, no, I forgot an untouched desert there is not. Oh, yes, it's sad but true. Command, of course, has been there. Turn right, we won't slow down. Yes, we're on our way now that the road has been. तुमको राह बताऊं दिल्ली की, आओ यारो आओ, तुमको राह बताऊं दिल्ली की. जाओ यहाँ से सीधा जाओ, हिम्मत रखो मत घबराओ. हरियाली का डेरा होगा, जंगल यहाँ घनेरा होगा. नहीं भाई नहीं, 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 नहीं भाई नहीं. हरे भरे उस जंगल की इंसानों ने मारी रेड़, काट दिया सारे जंगल को, छोड़ दिया एक सूखा पेड़. वहाँ से फिर तुम आगे जाना.
Some derps where they shouldn't be, and things like that. That was one of the animation errors that was particularly glaring. It's like, yeah, you didn't do that right. And they kind of really lazy when they did that song. And they did the song, and he was trying to tell them about how to get to the Parliament, which doesn't make any sense, because every time he tells them, he's also telling them about the pollution. So he says, many years ago it looked like this, but oh no, not anymore. Now it looks totally different. But it's like, imagine if someone tried to give you instructions by telling you how things looked several years ago and then going, it doesn't look like that now. Imagine how difficult that would be. Go to the left, past the Guffogs, but it's not Gufford anymore, it's now Co-op. Oh wait, no, it's not Co-op. Co-op went out of business ages ago. I think it's a Tesco now. maybe one of those big Tesco's. So it was kind of one of those. Imagine if someone gave you instructions like that, and they go, "Oh, never mind, that's Britain now." I was thinking of a different country. It's just like, yeah. Oh wait, that was a different planet. I was talking about Ooblock. It was like, what the hell's that about? That was several years ago. There's a train track there now. That's not even walkable. There's a volcano there now. Oh yeah, just go put through the volcano. Like, yeah, that's where the road used to be. Yeah, so and so they do that, which is a bit weird. Yeah, and they go through the whole movie, and there's a nice moral at the end. And yeah, they have a bit of a dance off at the end. And the funny thing about the dance off is that they do it in that weird style where they do it in pieces of the animation, like they do one side, like one frame one way and one frame the total opposite way. So it's all going do 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 do, doing like a jagged dance, doing this animation style. And the funny thing was, the animation was so weird and awkward in the original movie that it actually looked better animated when they got rid of the frames, which was a bit sad. I was like, oh dear, they're trying to animate worse and they're animating better. Oh, so that was a bit painful to look at. But yeah, I watched the whole movie, and I'm telling you, if you're gonna watch that movie, be prepared for shit. Oh, there was also a part where there's a bear. The bear is called Barger. But there's a part where they took clear advantage of his name, where she goes, "Oh, Barger."
Please, Mom, let me explain.
Stop. Oh, bugger. He's just a child, but you...
That's
And you can imagine what that sounded like when I first heard it. Plus, a lot of the time, the characters didn't mention the names before they were beforehand in any kind of introductory scene. The movie isn't that smart. It just comes up whenever someone says it. So it came out of nowhere. We went, "Oh, Barger!" And I went. So there are some moments a bit like that. It sounded quite a lot of the time they were trying not to swear, and there were some times where they were a bit more forward in the original one, so they were trying to avoid those words, I guess. And it's clear it's directed by Peter, but it's also clear that there's another director there fighting against him to have some things in it, which is interesting. So it ends up being a rather complicated, random movie. Some of the parts of the movie have got very questionable morals, which are not right at all. Rather weird, wife beating and things, children beating and wife shouting and stuff like that, guns with children's movies, threatening people with them, things like that, which don't make any sense. People not getting comeuppance for being horrible people, stuff like that. But then there are other parts which were about the emotion, about understanding, grief and things like that, which were very deep and very well done. So, I kind of, even though I really hated the English one, the dub, it was really bad, I had to admire it for the emotional scenes and the background music, which wasn't that bad in most of the scenes. But when I watched it in the original language, I found it on YouTube in the original language without subtitles, but because I'd already watched the original, I knew what the lines were, so I watched it with that in mind, and oh my goodness, it's a million times better. It really is. If you have the chance, or find a subtitled version, or if you want to do the same thing I do, watch the English one and then watch the other one, because you'll probably be able to find both online. The English one is called Jungle Safari, and the original language one is called Hili Safari. So the place which they go to, Hili Safari. Which makes a lot more sense. I don't know why they changed the name, but yeah, and it's so much better than the other one. It just proves how much a movie can change from just bad voice acting and bad cuts. Really does. That's the only things that they changed, was the voice acting and the cutting, and yet it ruined the movie so badly. It feels completely different. It really does. It turned into one of the worst movies I've ever watched when I watched the English one, to one of the best movies I watched when I watched the original. It's now like my cult favourite for this year. And it's like, where did that come from? I didn't expect that at all. It's the most amazing contrast. Honestly, it's really interesting. If you're interested in animated movies and kids' movies like I am, if you're a reviewer, honestly, if you're a reviewer, I challenge you to review this movie. Jungle Safari. You can probably find it in a pound shop. I live in the UK, so I don't know if it's going to be available in America and places like that, but you can give it a try. So, keeping that in mind, try that movie. Also, I did watch another movie by the same publisher, which was a lot worse. It was designed for English, and it was English, and it was boring. Mainly it was boring, but it also had plot points which didn't make any sense. So it was kind of like this movie, but less garish, but more boring, and didn't have the emotional bits in it, so it was just generally boring and kind of thing. It was called Kumba the Zebra or something. So that's the next one I'm going to review. I said to myself I wasn't going to do reviews, but I just had to. I'm going to very much limit the clips I'm going to show. Only the ones which I have to show my point. Otherwise, it's just going to be a static image of the movie cover with my audio, because I don't want, and I'm not scripting this either, as you can probably tell, because I don't want to make it too complicated for myself, because that was the whole point. I want to make it nice and easy and smooth, so I don't have to work too hard. I mean, making the whole script is just too much of a pain in the ass, and you lose the passion for the movie, don't you? But I watched the Kumba one pretty recently as well, so I can still remember that movie, and I'll double check it before I do it. But yeah, very interesting. But I'm challenge you, Nostalgia Critic, or Animat, or anybody who's a reviewer of movies. I hate everything. Search for the worst. I challenge all of you, any reviewer, for you to look up the movie, to look up the movie's publisher. Look up the publisher for Jungle Safari. They are called something like, they're called Kaleidoscope Entertainment. That's what they're called, Kaleidoscope something entertainment. Oh boy. When you look up their official website, which will come up straight away if you put the full name in, oh boy, you're in for a treat. They have published every single bad movie in existence. I'm telling you, really. There's a whole catalogue of every movie with a mini description, and that movie is on there. The one which I've watched is on there as well, so you'll know if you're on the right website. I think it's far in though. It's like halfway in, and there's like 50 pages. But still, I challenge you to do a collective video reviewing those movies, and I'm going to carry on. I'm going to make it my duty to review these movies, because the Kaleidoscope Entertainment needs to be revealed as the worst movie company of all time. I am telling you. Seriously, have you seen the shit that they've made? I mean, for example, they made Sharknado 1-4. Just an example. They've made so many bad things, you won't believe it. Just look at the catalogue. Oh, man. Actually, I'll see if I've got the page still up here. If I can find the page. Oh, no, I haven't. Oh, hang on. Oh, here we go. Kaleidoscope. Here we go, kaleidoscopehomeentertainment.com. There you go. Go on that website now. Seriously, look at the catalogue, pick a movie and review it. It will be worth your while, I'm telling you now. Well, I nominate every reviewer that watches this video. Okay, so, thank you for listening anyway. I've talked for a whole blooming hour. Oh dear. Movie is that bad. I'll see you again next time. See ya.